What time is it? Wrong. It's polka time. That's right, with Dick Contino. Daddy-O himself, ladies and gentlemen, is making the scene, and he has got one magnetic personality. Absolutely, these folks can't take their eyes off of him. Speaking of magnetic personalities, this guy almost has a woolly thing going on with his hair and his eyebrows there. Pretty sure that's all magnetic shavings. Hey, welcome to Having a Drink with Mink. I'm your host, Jason Mink, and, it's been a couple weeks, hasn't it? What can I say? I've had a lot of big deals cooking. Well, yes, I have, but I haven't forgotten about you, and I hope you haven't forgotten about me. This is Dick Contino's masterwork. This is his Pieta, if you will, his Sgt. Pepper. It's polka time. You got the clarinet polka, the Liechtenstein polka, the hand clap polka. Larry, can we get a little polka? Ha-ha! There it is. All right, well, I hope you have a nice beverage on hand. I know that I do, and have had for a little while. We're going to lean into it because, hey, it's our very special 53rd birthday episode. That's right. Whose birthday is it? Well, not his, it's mine. So cheers to me. In this one instance, I'll raise a glass to me. And I hope you have a nice beverage on hand to raise with me. Let's have it now. It's been quite the year. Thank you for sticking with us. Okay, let's jump right in. We got a whole bunch of old comics to talk about, and I'm super excited about it because, well, this is a wonderful batch to share with you. It's Crime and Punishment Illustories, and you'll notice there's this note on the inside. He's pretty upset about it, apparently. He's terrified when it comes right down to it. This says, no back cover. Cover is 45. Coverless comic is not 45. It's not even Crime and Punishment, apparently. But it is free to Mike McCarthy, although he didn't want it. So that's crossed out right there. And then it says it's free to anyone. And I was walking past, and I looked at it, and I thought, I'm anyone, and so of course I'm going to take it home because I love me some crime comics. This is Tides of Crime, which actually sounds rather poetic. Anyone want to write a haiku about this car going off a cliff? Post it in the comments section below, and I'll read my favorites in the next episode. After all, this story is filled with grim and lasting imagery, which is sure to hasten even the most lachrymose bard's pen. All right, we're going to move the big G out of the way. What's next? Also, I really dig those teen humor comics from the 1950s and 60s. And one of my personal favorites, a little bit out of left field for sure, it's Tippy Teen. That's right. I know that many of you are familiar with Archie. This is a bit of an Archie knockoff when it comes right down to it. In fact, some of Archie's creators very discreetly went over the fence and illustrated stories for Tippy Teen and the spin-off book, Tippy's Friend, Go-Go, and Animal. And what great books they are. They're a lot of fun if you enjoy teen humor. I know that I do. It's The Man from Auntie, starring David McCrackham. Are you ready to kiss one of the rolling ants? Only costs $1, and hey, all these gals sure are. Money well spent when it comes right down to it. You want to get them before they're festering with STDs. And then here's Tippy Teen. This is issue number 7, and this is another one that I needed. Let's have a granny party. Oh yeah, let's do it. You know any grannies? Get them on the phone. Get them over here. It's going to be a blast. First, let's have a little prom time. Really like the aesthetic here. Love the colors. You know what I mean? These days, someone would be tempted to just completely overdo it with, computer colors and all sorts of filters and stuff like that. But there's something just so clean and pure about this. Really, really dig it. And then what next? Here's the teeners going up into the mountains. Oh, no. I think I've seen a horror movie or two that ended up just like that. Want to be cool? Be a smarty? Why not have a granny party? We'll have one for one and all, and everyone will have a ball. Oh yeah, you bet. There's nothing more fun than, making sure you're dressed head to toe and really warm, uncomfortable clothes. That's right, just like Grandma and Granddad used to do. But hey, you're here, so somehow it all worked out, right? And then we were talking about Go-Go. We're going to see Go-Go a little bit later, but here's an ad for it. Have more Go-Go with more new features for you. That's right, Tower Comics, they listened when you reached out to them, and, I think that if you're willing to gamble a quarter, you're going to be well satisfied. Anytime that the gals do the home ec bit, it's always hilarious. And while you think that Ronnie and Betty would have that trademarked, Tippy and Go-Go definitely give them a run for their money. Okay, say it with me now. I'm not really a big war comics kind of guy. I know, I say that all the time, and yet I seem to have an awful lot of war comics. It's hard to resist them when it comes right down to it, especially this one, because, well, it was falling apart when I first got it. I know you're not supposed to use tape to hold them together, but, well, the damn thing had already, completely perished, and I want to at least enjoy it. I want to be able to read it as it was meant to be read. It's the push-button war. And then, gotta love this, you've got a comet by the tail. I'm not quite sure how you're going to explain to your mother the burns on the inside of the thighs of your pants, but, you'll work that out. And then, this is something that I thought was especially cool. It's a story by MORT DRUCKER, of Mad Magazine fame. We're used to him making us laugh, but have you ever thought about what he thought about the war? It's, oh, wow. It's pretty good. All right, Mort. And then you even get some gags at the back here. Our Army at War with Private Pete. He's always up to no good. And then here is some Joe Kubert. It's Boiling Point, and this is Pre-Sergeant Rock. So that's pretty interesting. You see the genesis of a lot of that right there. Now, as far as it goes, there are a lot of comics that I don't really know a whole lot about. Challengers of the Unknown is one of them, and, well, I guess that would stand to reason given its name. I guess it's a challenge to keep up with this sort of thing when it comes right down to it. Now, I can tell this is their late 70s, early incarnation because, they're all wearing fuchsia, aren't they? But how could I say no? Because this not only includes the Challengers, but you got Swamp Thing and Deadman as well. Now, at the end of the day, when you're a successful metropolitan news publisher, the last thing you expect to happen is to have your astronaut son turn into a werewolf. But it does, in fact, happen, as evidenced by this. It's Creatures on the Loose featuring Man-Wolf. Here he is stalking this young couple. It's Full Moon, Dark Fear. And I love covers like this with the moody red skyline and, the era-appropriate clothes. You really get a sense of what it would be like to be stalked by a werewolf in the 1970s. You bet. And the artwork on the inside is just as dynamite. I love that. Very, very cool. The kind of illustration that, as a little kid, you would stare at for hours. Just don't tell the therapist you're staring at it for hours, because they'll ask you a bunch of questions. There are no answers to those questions. Here's your Marvel value stamp for this episode. It's Iceman. And who better in these hot times, am I right, folks? Pretty warm outside. How warm is it? Larry, how warm is it? Right, okay. Fair enough. Next up is a book that I never really paid a whole lot of attention to as a young man. I was more of an Avengers guy when it came right down to it, but the Fantastic Four are Marvel's first family, not to mention the world's greatest comic magazine, if blurbs are to be believed. Here we have Turnak. No wonder he's angry. Johnny seems to be ruining his hairline here. And Medusa, well, she's obviously a Breck girl. And then I picked this up just specifically because of the artwork. It's Ross Andrew as the guest artist with Joe Sinnott as the inker. Very striking image of the Human Torch. And it's always nice to see him flying around in snowy climates like that. Fighting a big old Yeti, dude. Now, as a young man, I was always a fan of Ghost Rider. This was before the movies and Nicolas Cage and all that stuff. I was actually lucky enough to pick up the Johnny Blaze stunt cycle down at the local Five and Dime, just down the road there. Oh, sure, it's an apartment now, but, I remember. But I always tried to grab the comic books when I could. This is Marvel Spotlight on Ghost Rider. It's another 20-center, and at this point, the character was a little more focused on the supernatural, off-the-wall, wasn't interacting with the Marvel Universe quite as much. The Witch Man cometh. Oh, and then on the back, get yourself a chop cycle. I wonder how many kids set this guy's head on fire and sent him flying down the driveway. I know that I would have. Okay, here's some Go-Go. I was talking about Go-Go earlier here. Go-Go and Animal, they're Tippy's friends. And this has a lot of artwork by Sam Schwartz, fantastically enough. Here's a little something that had eluded me up until now. I thought I was a bit of an aficionado when it came to Tippy Teen and our universe, but apparently they have a Rubenesque friend named, of course, Timey. Yeah, it's a bit on the nose and insensitive for any era, but let's face it, Tower Comics wasn't exactly writing Shakespeare. It's a shame she didn't have Jughead's metabolism. Boy, life sure ain't fair. And then, let's have a monster party. Because, let's face it, that granny party kind of sucked. I mean, this has to be better. You know, you have vampires, Frankensteins, witches, werewolves. And what do they suggest you do at your Halloween party? Well, nothing overtly satanic. Fun little games like blow out the candles or apples and flour. Or you could thread some pumpkin seeds, which actually looks a little less fun than even the illustration makes it out to be. You know, anticipate a lot of finger wounds. Next up, here is this nifty reprint of a Silver Age House of Mystery from DC Comics. This is from their Millennium Edition line, and these were very slick. Long before Marvel was putting out those replica editions, like this, you could get one of these, and they were actually the same price as a regular comic book, so it was certainly a good deal. And it's chock full of all the stories you would expect to find on the inside of this book. I fell in love with a witch. Too soon. And then, man or monster. Why not just split the difference? You know what I'm saying? And then, what's one more? One more. Wanda was a werewolf. Oh, yeah, she was. Doesn't look like a werewolf as much like a very, very ill pet of some sort. This is why you don't buy puppies in the gas station parking lot. And then here's a more modern take on that whole thing, although this one is a complete replica, with ads and all. It's the Invincible Iron Man #1 from Marvel Comics Group. You'd hardly know the difference from the original other than the glossy paper and the barcode, of course. And, man, that Tony could splay. You know, you show me a DC hero who can splay like that, and, well, I'll pay $3.99 for their reproduction comic. I might even buy some grit in the process. And how's it look? Oh, it looks pretty good. I mean, as far as it goes, you know, when it's going to be on glossy paper like this, it's never going to quite convey that sense of old comic-ness, but nonetheless seems to acquit itself fairly well. Doesn't put a bunch of crazy filters and, you know, goofy colors where they don't belong. pretty cool if you need a copy of Iron Man 1 and, you don't want to go into the doghouse with your significant other. Well, that's a good way to do it. It just came out like a couple weeks ago, so make it a point to stop down your local comic book shop and tell them that Johnny Dune sent you. Now, this is another example of DC Comics doing the whole social activism thing, and while their hearts may have been in the right place, it's obviously still pretty tone-deaf, like being lectured by a boozed-up uncle at a barbecue. Hey, you know what the problem with you kids is? What, other than having my superhero comic interrupted by your overheated moralistic histrionics? I don't know. Maybe I'm being uncharitable, but this image here just kind of sets me off. I mean, they just couldn't have Adam take her out? Seems a bit sus, as the kids say. And then we're talking Justice League. Here's some more Justice League. It's the return of the Starfish Conqueror. And I love the fact that they made the A into a little star O there. Oh yeah, they got branding. Even aliens get branding. And here's Starro attempting to take over the world again. I guess that sometimes God loves a starfish that tries. And Justice League, well, they're not just going to lie down and take it, although how they're going to deal with this thing, I couldn't tell you. Maybe unplug the aerator in the tank, that should do it. And then it's a Machine Man. Now, Machine Man is one of those titles that I decided, you know what? There's only like 18 issues of this. I can surely complete this run easily in dollar bins. Hasn't been that easy somehow. It's these later issues that are kind of hard to find. I might have a copy of this coverless, but I want them all, a nice little run. So, I can sit down and read them all from end to end. I know there was a big transition from when Ditko took over from Kirby. But nonetheless, it's some early 80s Marvel goodness that, you're not going to get anywhere else. And I wonder who won that Toys R Us shopping spree. And then here's some Plastic Man. And this is when DC Comics picked up the character in the mid-1960s. Plastic Man hadn't been published for, a decade and a half at this point in time. And this is a very odd book indeed. And then let's talk about a few Spidey Super stories. As a kid, I turned my nose up at these, but now I gotta say they're great fun just because, they give you all the feels, don't they? If you were around at the time, you're gonna appreciate someone playing the wah-wah pedal, or at least trying, but there's always some narc trying to ruin your fun. Don't worry though, Spidey's on the scene to make sure, all the kids get to rock out. Following on with issue 12 of Spidey Super Stories featuring the villainous avian offender, the Owl, along with Marvel's then newest hero, the Cat. So how did she get her powers? Well, rays is how. What kind of rays? Oh, where's your sense of wonder? Probably under the couch with all those tinfoil balls she likes to chase. The Cat later transformed into Tigra, although the less said about that, the better. Here's an issue from an interesting era for the Swamp Thing, taking place after the now classic cycle of his Bernie Wrightson illustrated origins, but before Vertigo deified and then crucified him. These stories occupy an uneven patch of land within DC continuity, one now overgrown and rarely tread. For all that, it does have this ad featuring a pre-stardom Todd Bridges. What was Willis talking about? I mean, did we ever find out? Every time the kid opened his mouth, his brother made a joke. I think that if we listened, things may have gone a little differently. And then we're going to finish things out with some Submariner issues. And I've been picking these up because I discovered that they featured art by no less than Submariner's creator, Bill Everett. And this is a very cool era of Subby, these 20 centers. This is number 52, and he's tackling Sunfire. Now, the ocean has always been a cool place for titans to tussle, and this issue is no different. The open sea provides a sense of scale and potential for devastation that a city skyline can rarely manifest. This last page is especially nightmarish, all things considered. Beautifully drawn, too. It's like a botacalypse, you know what I'm saying? And then here's Number 53, Where Things Pick Up, and they're both taking on the Dragon Lord. Seems like they've worked things out. You know, they always do. Superheroes, for the most part, take on the guy with the uglier costume. It's nature's way. And then here's Submariner number 54, and you get 3 Subsea Sagas for the price of 1 and 20 cents. Well, that's like what? 6 3/4 cents a saga? How can you go wrong? And I don't like the way this guy's hugging Namor's leg. All right, well, thank you for joining us on this episode. I know it was a little wonky, maybe a little off the wall, still getting my wings wet again after being out of action for a few weeks. But like I said, we have some very interesting stuff coming up, for sure. A couple very cool and compelling projects you're going to want to stay tuned for. And, hey, if you like the Old Guys Who Like Old Comics group and you want to let the world know, make it a point to pick up a t-shirt. Consider it my birthday present. I sure will. Okay, until the next time. Larry, you have anything to add? Oh, boy. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I don't know how to stop it. I don't know how to stop it, folks.